What's going on, everyone? It's Semp. Welcome back to the channel. If you've been around here on the channel, you know I don't cover plot leaks in depth, but I do happen to get some post-credit scene information at times, so spoiler warning before we get into it, but other than that, let's go. I do want to mention that part of this is actually leaked information, but a lot of this is also theory as well. To get this out of the way, I know a lot of you have questions about the Blade movie and where we might meet Mahershala Ali's character, and one that's just not a voiceover. But it sounds like Moon Knight will not be the show that we see him in. There was a lot of rumors and speculation on how this series could tie into the Blade movie. Now I have a more in-depth video coming out about that soon and how the Midnight Suns might team up, but just know that Moon Knight won't be giving us that just yet. However, the post-credit scene does give us the next step to the formation of the Midnight Suns. According to reports, there might be two post-credit scenes at the end of the show, and it said that one actually sets up the Werewolf by Night Halloween special that's set to come out later this year. Now I can't tell if these two ideas are in the same scene or not, but we are expected to see one of Mark Spector's identities unveil itself in the post-credit scene. So far in the Moon Knight show, we will be seeing Mark, who is the US Marine and mercenary who dies. Now that is his real identity, and then you have the Fist of KHONSHU, which is essentially just the name KHONSHU gives to the Moon Knight. You also have Stephen Grant, who is a billionaire businessman in the comics, although in this show they remove that aspect for the most part. It seems like he's just a museum gift shop worker. And then you have Mr. Knight, who is this consultant that dresses in a suit. These are three alternate identities that Mark Spector goes by, and then of course himself, the real identity Mark Spector. But in the comics there are four main ones, with Jake Lockley being the final one. To simplify and to really focus in on less personalities for the show is the reason I believe they waited to bring in Jake into the picture. And so if this is the personality that comes out, what does that mean? Well, originally in the comics, the Lockley identity manifested during his childhood, but of course this show takes place years later, and within the MCU, they always switch or swap out things to fit the current story that they want to tell. Jake Lockley is a low-key taxi cab driver with a supposed New York or Upper East Coast accent. He has this sort of mystery persona around him, and being that he's going to come out in the post-credit scene, it's also being said that this will set up the Werewolf by Night Halloween special. Because I believe that KHONSHU will tell him to go after Werewolf, and we will actually see him drive off with the Werewolf by Night title on screen, or he could just end up picking up Jack Russell in a cab. In the comics, the committee told Moon Knight to go and capture Jack Russell, but it would make more sense that since we are about to just meet Moon Knight, it's KHONSHU who drives his search in Bloodlust. And the committee in the comics is really just a secret organization of businessmen and financiers, basically some evil Wall Street crackheads. If you don't know much about Jack Russell, he turned into a werewolf on the night of a full moon on his 18th birthday. His family has a history of lycanthropy, and it's actually a clinical syndrome where the patient has a delusional belief of turning into a wolf. This family curse goes all the way back to the late 1700s with Grigory Rusov, who got the curse from Lydia, a werewolf imprisoned by Dracula. In the mid-1950s, Gregory Rusov, the great-great-grandson of Grigory, actually acquired a copy of the Darkhold, which includes the secret origin of lycanthropy. By reading that passage, Gregory activated the curse and became a werewolf. This curse was then passed on, and one of his descendants, who ends up being Jack Russell, finds out about the curse and it hits him at age 18. Moon Knight actually debuted in a Werewolf by Night comic where he was the villain of the story, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with the special, which will then lead into some more Midnight fun. As for other potential cameos in Moon Knight, there's really only 3 characters to even mention. All of the early reviewers said the show is pretty disconnected from other projects as it sort of stands alone. However, they also only saw episodes 1 through 4. This first potential cameo on the list though could have a massive impact on the MCU going forward, because Punisher could potentially be showing up in Moon Knight as the second post-credit scene. This was originally reported back in June of last year and has steadily been on the low. Since then, Jon Bernthal has said that he's open to returning as the Punisher, as long as the character is done with justice and keeps that same brutal feeling from the Netflix shows. Now, originally I would have told you that you were crazy, but then just recently Disney Plus acquired all of the Marvel Netflix TV shows, including The Punisher, and even added a parental control feature for rated R content, right before Moon Knight comes out. Deadpool 3 is also confirmed to be a rated R movie in the MCU, and from what we heard, Moon Knight does get bloody at times in the show, so Frank Castle could very well fit in as a post-credit cameo. And during the Moon Knight press tour, Oscar Isaac was asked about where he wanted to see Moon Knight go, and mentioned that the potentiality of the Midnight Suns team is one that he would love to see, listing Punisher as a main member that he would like to see on the team. The Punisher, however, isn't really a staple on the team in the comics, and this situation kind of leans towards the Jeremy Renner talking about setting up the West Coast Avengers on his press tour. Though it didn't happen in the Hawkeye show, it's most likely definitely coming, and Moon Knight has been on that team before. But in general, both of these guys have mentioned that they aren't huge comic readers, and so this information was likely given to them to say to create hype. Rather than their true aspirations for the character, it's definitely an interesting topic to monitor though nonetheless. Last year, it was also announced that Sharon Carter would make her appearance in the show, but nothing has been brought up since that, and quite honestly, I'm not sure how she would really fit in. Unless being the power broker, she has connections to the committee that I mentioned, or if there's a scene where weapons are being transported, I'm honestly not too sure, but it's a name to keep your eye on as you watch the show, I guess. And lastly, Mark Ruffalo's Hulk is also rumored to be cameoing in the show. This is rather a new rumor circling, and could be the reason that the press wasn't sent episode 5, as the cameo could be in that episode. Now usually, press only gets 2 episodes early, so it was interesting to see why they got up to 4. But back when Moon Knight was being filmed, Ruffalo was found near the set in Budapest. She-Hulk, however, was also filming there, so it'll be interesting to see if there's any sort of overlap there at all, or if everything was just a coincidence. Mark Ruffalo did tweet about the incident though, and he's always been a little sketchy on that topic, so we'll see. The more recent report though came out that the Diz Insider show, who was usually pretty reliable, they stated that Bruce Banner will be the one to show up in Moon Knight, which once again seems like confirmation that he'll be able to go back to Bruce form and also Hulk out, but that's a topic for a whole nother She-Hulk video. I do have a Midnight Suns video coming out, either next video or the one after, going into much more detail about Blade and the supernatural side of the MCU. So let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below and drop all of your Moon Knight theories. I just want to say thank you so much for 1,000 subscribers. My goal was to reach this before Moon Knight came out, so this is awesome and let's just keep it going. You can follow me on Twitter at AnotherMarvelG, and if you like this video or just like Marvel the MCU, comics, and everything in between, subscribe to the channel and click that thumbs up. Other than that, I just want to say thank you. I'm another Marvel guy, and I'll catch y'all on them.